Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Guns and Guitars, and I am super excited to show you guys this guitar today. Now, you guys know that I get tons of products to review and evaluate and make videos on, and I typically have a very strict process of how I go about it, and I try to do the products in the order that I receive them. Well, sometimes I'll get a product that is just so cool and such a good value that I know you guys are just gonna love, and so I will fast track that one to the front of the line. And that's the case with this matte black Vangoa acoustic electric cutaway dreadnought style guitar. So what makes this thing so awesome? Well, stick around. I'm Dan, this is Guns and Guitars. Let's get started. All right, so right away, before we even talk about the guitar, we're gonna talk about all the stuff that comes with the guitar. And firstly, we're gonna talk about this Vangoa full-size gig bag that comes with it. I was super impressed by this thing. It has a ton of really good thick padding. It has a neck support brace as well as a Velcro strap. So you slap your guitar in there, you strap it up to that neck brace, and then you don't have to worry about laying your acoustic down on the ground. You'll know that that neck is adequately supported. It comes with nice padded backpack straps, as well as a nice, thick, comfortable carry handle. Not that you need it because acoustic guitars don't weigh that much, but very nice features. And then it's got some armor down here on the bottom that not only will protect the guitar when you stand it upright, but also prevents it from slipping on carpet or tile or whatever you've leaned it on. So, very impressed with the gig bag, but it doesn't stop there. It also comes with a goodie bag of accessories. Firstly, you got a spare set of strings. You got your user manual. I didn't even know this was in there. I must have missed it the first time through, but that's a little peel and stick pick guard, which was one of the criticisms that I had about the guitar, was that there was no pick guard. I was wrong. It comes with a Vangoa brand capo. This particular one is silver. It looks very nice. It feels very high quality. Comes with the obligatory cheap instrument cable. Let's go ahead and open that up and have a better look at it. So definitely nothing special about this instrument cable, just kind of the same one that you typically get with an instrument like this. It might be a little bit longer and it doesn't have the one side that's right angle, so it might be a little higher quality. I'm not going to use it anyway. I've got my own instrument cables that I like. Comes with a guitar strap, which again, probably should have opened this beforehand. Nice. Yes, this will work for an adult and still got plenty of room for adjustment there. So, nice. I needed another guitar strap, so that will work perfect. Comes with a microfiber cleaning cloth, which you will want because the matte finish on this guitar does smudge a little bit. I'll show you that a little bit later. Ooh, Vangoa picks. Missed that first time around as well. The Allen key for adjusting the truss rod. And probably the coolest accessory, it comes with this cool little snark style tuner. And you can see I already unboxed this and I put it to really good use and it actually works really well. It's got the Vangoa brand name on it. I have another one just like it that has the Joyo brand name on it, so it's definitely just a generic tuner that you can put your own brand on. But it works really nice and they include it at this price point, which is pretty crazy because the gig bag alone, in my opinion, is worth half the price of what you pay for this package. Speaking of price, you get all of this along with this beautiful acoustic electric guitar for just $135, which is pretty spectacular because I think, you know, like I said, this gig bag's worth half that price in and of itself, and then throw in the rest of these accessories and it gets you most of the way there and you kind of just get a free guitar out of it. So let's go ahead and talk about the guitar. So you'll notice that stylistically right off the bat, this guitar is, well, stylish. It's one of the coolest looking guitars that I have seen in a really long time. They did a really good job with matching the color of the logo with the binding that they used on the neck and the border that they have around the perimeter of the guitar. And the reason why I'm not calling that binding, I'll tell you in just a second. It really is just a border. So construction, we have a spruce top with a mahogany back and sides. It's a dreadnought size guitar with a cutaway. And so it projects really well. And then there's a few upgrades on here. We've got, firstly, some 1:18 ratio tuning machines, which they say are upgraded tuning machines. I will say they are better than the worst tuning machines, they're not super awesome, to be honest. I was a little bit disappointed. I feel like they kind of oversold the tuners a little bit, but they work good enough to get you by for sure. What really blew me away is that at this price point, they gave us a bone nut and a bone saddle. And even more importantly, the nut and the saddle are actually cut to the proper height, which is super helpful in giving this guitar a good setup. It also has a built-in piezo transducer pickup right underneath the bridge, as well as what they call a 4-band EQ. It's technically a 3-band because there's bass, middle, and treble, and then they have their 4th band is presence, and presence is just kind of a different treble band. So I guess it is technically 4-band, but not like you would typically think of a 4-band EQ. But a few key things that sets this guitar apart from the rest of them is, one, the matte black finish, and it's an ultra thin matte black finish. They brag that it's less than 0.15 millimeters thick. They sprayed it on super thin for a reason, so that they don't alter the tonal characteristics of the guitar. And as a result, this thing projects extremely well, and it's got a very, very good sound. It kind of has a warm sort of Martin sound like you'd expect from a Dreadnought cutaway guitar, but it's maybe just slightly brighter than a Martin, and that's probably because they sprayed on the finish. Kind of sealed up those pores a little bit and kind of brightened up the sound. So it kind of really is a mix between a Martin and a Taylor when it comes to the tone signature. Now, this faux binding around the edge, it looks like mahogany binding, but it is not. What it is they just masked off the edges like binding when they sprayed on the finish and then peeled it off. And so it's not real binding, and if you look really closely in some spots, you can actually see where the paint kind of bled over a little bit, or maybe they didn't mask it off as good as they should have. So, you know, we're talking about a $135 guitar here, not to mention the other accessories they bundle with it. So I'm not going to fault them too much for that. What I will fault them for is maybe as you've seen me moving this around in the light, you might have picked up it's a little bit splotchy down here at the bottom. And some of that is the oils and stuff from my hands because I've been playing this thing all day because it just sounds so cool and it plays so good. And we'll talk about playability in a minute. And so some of that, you know, especially like right down here and right up here by where my arm is, there's a little bit of just smudges that I tried to clean off. But if I catch it in just the right light, you can see right here where it kind of looks like they might have just sprayed the finish either a little too thin or maybe the wood just soaked it up a little bit more there than the rest of the guitar. And so maybe a second pass with that probably would have been beneficial. I don't know how much that would have changed the tone. I know the whole point of the thin coating was they didn't want to change the tone. And the tone on this is absolutely killer. Now, I'll move the mic up a little bit closer for some demos later, but just listen to the projection on this thing. Playability on this thing is awesome. I was able to just use the included Allen key to adjust the truss rod, and I was able to bring the action way down lower than most acoustic guitars, especially acoustic guitars at this price point, but just most in general. I mean, I got it down to where it plays, in my opinion, as good as some Taylor guitars. Now you'll notice that when I really dig in, just a tiny bit of fret buzz. That's because I'm kind of riding the line of between low and too low. Like I mentioned earlier, they cut the nut properly. So when you pinch the string down on that second fret right there, and you look at the clearance between the string and the first fret, it's just, I mean, less than a millimeter clearance. That's perfect. I adjusted the neck relief, you know, where you pinch the first fret and the last fret, and then you check for, again, the distance between the string and the 12th fret, and again, have less than a millimeter, and it plays awesome. I couldn't ask for the action to be any lower. And in fact, I probably could play with it lower, but then it wouldn't project as well. This is an acoustic guitar after all. We do want it to be able to project well. Now, I think part of the reason why you can get such a good low action on it is that these frets are really tiny. I mean, they look almost like mandolin frets. They are not by any means sort of a large or jumbo size fret, not even a medium or classic style fret. I mean, they are tiny. And I was a little concerned about that in the beginning because typically at this price point, I'm having to do fret work to get a good playing guitar. And that just doesn't give me a whole lot of room to work on the frets. But thankfully, I don't have to. This thing plays absolutely awesome. Even up on the higher strings, So yeah, it can really help fill in the space if you're doing a duet with another acoustic player. I really love cutaway guitars for that reason. Now let's talk a little bit about the electronics on this. Now it has a EQ 7545R, which I looked up on Amazon, and you can get these on Amazon for anywhere between like 10 or 15 bucks. So this is definitely where they saved some money, was in the electronics. This 4-band EQ does work really well, except for, I think maybe on my particular sample, the saddle is not making good enough contact with the transducer at the low E string, because I feel like it's a little bit lacking on the really low notes. And when I was recording, I compared the overall volume of the E string versus the A string. The A string was much louder than the E string. So I don't think that's a fault of the preamp. I think that's the transducer, and I think it's just not making good enough contact with the saddle where the E string is. So the next time I string this thing up, I'm gonna pull that saddle out and have a look and just make sure that it's making all the contact that it should. Because typically an issue that you find with these cheaper preamps is that they're actually too bassy. And that's not the case with this one. I would actually be okay with a little bit more bass, honestly. I think if you're gonna be playing with a band, then it's perfect. But if you're gonna be leading by yourself and you want a fuller, richer sound, then again, this is my specific one, I feel like is a little bit lacking in the low end, and I have a feeling it's just that that saddle is not making as good a contact as it should. So I'm gonna go ahead and plug this guy in right now and record some demos for you. Most of these recordings, I'm keeping the EQ pretty much flat, maybe dipping out a little bit of the mids and a little bit of treble, and boosting the bass slightly again because I feel like the bass is a little bit lacking again on this specific instrument. So now I'm going to unplug this bad boy, and I'm going to move my camera mic a little bit closer to the guitar so that hopefully you can get a good sense of what this thing sounds like acoustically. And keep in mind that I'm doing this recording with a Sennheiser video microphone. It's meant for picking up talking voices, not for recording acoustic guitars. But it should give you a pretty good idea of the tone profile of this instrument. Again, be listening for that subtle boost in the low mids that makes it very rich, as well as those sparkly highs that gives it a very modern twist. mean, this thing, it looks so cool, it sounds so good, and it plays so easy that, I mean, what more could you want from an acoustic guitar, really? And so that's why I fast-tracked this thing to the front of the line. I think it is a stellar value at this price point. And I didn't mention this earlier, but it's one of the few guitars that's actually offered left-handed as well. You guys are always asking me for lefty versions, and if I'm not mistaken, it's about the same price as the right-handed version, believe it or not. So thank you, Vangoa. You've always done such a good job at offering us high quality products at a really low price point, which is what this channel is all about. If you guys didn't catch it, a few years ago, I actually reviewed a Vangoa junior size acoustic electric that I thought was an equally good value. So you guys can check out that video if you're interested. And I'm Dan, this is Guns and Guitars, and I'll see you in that next video.